Good morning, everyone. This is Mayor John Morrissey. I'm opening the City of St. Mary's, Georgia City Council meeting for August 17th, 2020, and we will start with an invocation from Councilmember Dave Riley. Councilman Riley?
Thank you, Mayor. Please bow your head. Dear God, thank you for our beautiful City of St. Mary's and for the opportunity to come together virtually to conduct the city's business during this devastating and debilitating pandemic. Come to you tonight, Heavenly Father, and ask your guidance. We especially ask that you provide the wisdom and patience to our local, state, and national leaders such that they provide the type of leadership that allows us to fully recover from the deleterious impact of the COVID-19 virus. And dear God, we especially ask that you watch over and be the light for our first responders, medical professionals, staff, and others that are providing the extra services necessary to combat this pandemic by continuing to provide the day-to-day services our citizens expect and deserve. And dear God, we pray to you today and ask that you provide us with the wisdom to know that you created us all as equals, and that as equals, we must show tolerance and think clearly before taking action against a neighbor for a neighbor's property that only serves to destroy lives. What is happening in cities across the country is a terrible blight in our society and serves only to further divide and anger citizens. We pray for all those that have suffered and will suffer as a result of the type actions that are being levied on your people. And in closing, we ask you, God, to provide us your strength and wisdom so that we can do our very best collectively as council for the City of St. Mary's. We ask this in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Thank you very much. Ms. Williams, would you honor us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Madam Clerk, could
Yes,
you
sir.
run the roll call for us, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Here.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Present.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Present.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Present.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Present.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Present.
Mayor Morrissey.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Thank you.
Sir, we have a
All right.
quorum.
Right. And I would like to confirm we have City Manager Horton.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. And we have our legal counsel, Mr. Blackerby.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones.
Yes, I'm here, Mayor.
All right. And we have our Finance Director, Jennifer Brown.
I'm here.
All right, thank you. And we have our Community Development Director, Mr. Kenneth Hughes.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Madam Clerk, there seems to be we're getting a reverb here.
Yeah, I think someone may be live streaming as they're on the call, and we can hear that.
Okay, so we have City Manager Horton. Okay, so I'm going to ask everyone that's on the call to please mute your phones. Mr. Blackerby?
Yes, I'm here, Mayor.
All right, and we have our Finance Director, Jennifer Jones.
Mr. Mayor, it's not only muting the phone, but mute the live streaming device, whatever it's on. Mute it down or shut it off.
That's right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So you need to pick one or the other, please, and then you need to mute. Or we can't proceed until this is fixed.
The live streaming as they're on the call, and we can hear that.
Okay. All right. I think we may have that fixed. And thank you very much, folks, for understanding the technical ramifications of trying to run a meeting like this. And we appreciate your support. Thank you. All right, Council, we've got one set of minutes for approval, and it's the August 3rd, 2020 regular City Council meeting minutes. And could I have a motion for approval?
Move to
So
approve.
moved.
Okay, I think that was Mr. Rassi, correct?
Yes.
All right, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, was Ms. Williams. Madam Clerk, will you run the roster, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey?
All right, Madam Clerk, will you mark that as unanimous, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, so under our presentations, we have a board announcement for the Planning Commission, and we have board announcements, term expirations for Orange Hall Management Committee, and there are two positions there. So that being said, there are no reports for authorities, boards, commissions, and committees, but I would like to take this time to speak to those organizations and ask that now that we seem to be setting up a rhythm for how to manage under the COVID restrictions, that they start taking their cue from the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Planning Commission and start looking at virtual meetings. The city clerk and our IT support group can help them set up the phone call that we use here. And also, if they do decide for some reason to try and have a in-person meeting, the social distancing requirements, et cetera, they can help them with that. So we will be out with some messaging to all of those groups, asking them to start thinking about re-engaging so that they can move their business agendas forward. So thank you for that. And now, Council, we do need to set the consent agenda, and we have old business and new business today. There are two old business items. The first is a minor subdivision request for 703 West Hall Street. I think we're going to need to discuss that. Yeah. And then we have a special use permit for 805 Riverview Drive. I think we're going to discuss that. Is that acceptable, Council? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So on the new business, we have a resolution for the water taxi transportation system, Amelia River excursions between Fernandina Beach and City of St. Mary's.
Discuss.
All right. And the City Hall emergency repairs, coastal construction.
Consent.
Resolution on the coronavirus relief fund and budget ordinance amendment for FY 2021.
A little discussion, please.
All right. St. Mary's Library copier, Golden Isles office equipment.
Consent.
And the lift station 13, Palmetto Street gravity sewer system evaluation.
Consent.
Consent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Council. I'd like a a motion for a consent agenda that consists of new business item B, item D, and item E. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved, Mayor Hardy.
All right, Mr. Jones, how about a second?
I second. Gant.
Mr. Gant, thank you, sir. All right, Madam Clerk, could you run the roster?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
A yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Could you give me a clarification, because all of those vowels sound alike and consonants? Can you go again on the consent?
I tell you what, I'll do, the consent agenda is new business B as in boy,
Perfect.
D as in dog, E as in elephant.
Got it? Perfect. Thank you very much. And with that, I concur.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Mr. Goodman. I appreciate the clarification. Yes, sir.
Councilmember
Mr. Gant?
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5. Councilmember Rassi? Councilmember Rassi, are you muted, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey?
All right, Madam Clerk, please mark that as unanimous. And now, could I have a motion for approval of the agenda as ordered?
Motion to approve the agenda. Riley.
All right, Mr. Riley, got a second.
Second,
From
Williams.
Ms. Williams. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you run the roster?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey?
All right, Madam Clerk, would you mark that item as a unanimous, please? Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
And now we're going to
Mayor
move-
Morrissey?
Yes.
Hello, Mayor Morrissey. I just wanted to let you know, we do have someone that has joined, Douglas Cooper. Mr. Cooper is on the call, so I wanted to make sure you have his name.
Okay. Was he on the list for speaking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When I just checked the list, I didn't see it on there. He is. Yes, he is, sir.
Okay. Where was he in the order?
Mr. Cooper is first, sir.
Oh, Coop. Okay. Thank you. Hold on. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. We're going to move into granting audience to the public. These are items relative to the agenda only. And we request that you limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes, and we need your name and address, and if you would respect the decorum of the meeting. And I think as you said, Madam Clerk, our first speaker is Mr. Douglas Cooper. Mr. Cooper, can you unmute? And you have 5 minutes, sir. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hope you can all hear me. Yes, my name is Douglas Cooper. I'm at 814 Riverview Drive East. My wife and I have been here for 17 years. My comments will be in concern to the request for pigs at 805 Riverview Drive East. I attended the Planning Commission meeting where this was discussed, and I believe, several of my neighbors were there also. I believe the Planning Commission did a real thorough job of addressing this and all the aspects. They listened to all the neighbors that were there. and I believe they came up with the right recommendation to forward to you in accordance with the ordinance, obviously, and with the citizens and the rest of the residents, our request. Our neighborhood is a really diverse neighborhood, despite what the applicants on this tried to infer during their meeting, that we only were against this because of her race, which is not true at all. We are an extremely diverse neighborhood. We're basically what I would think most people would consider a neighborhood. Very friendly, very supportive of everyone else, but not in each other's business. We've had several tragedies in our neighborhood in the last year, which everyone has come together to help out with. Unfortunately, our new neighbors aren't wanting to be part of that. They clearly stated at the Planning Commission they understood the ordinance before they moved here. They knew they could not have livestock, but they're trying to call their pigs not livestock. Well, these are 150 to 200 pound pigs. They are pigs. They're hogs. I mean, I could put a goat or a sheep or a horse in my backyard and I could call it a pet. It doesn't change the fact that it's a livestock. It doesn't belong here in our neighborhood. The smell, which they say is not existent, is definitely existent, especially in the hot days we've had recently. And if you get the wind going in the right direction, all the people that like to walk and jog up our street, you're smelling the pig. So we are really hoping that you will support the decision of the Planning Commission in this matter, and I appreciate you taking my comments.
All right. Thanks very much, Mr. Cooper. I very much appreciate it. And then on our next citizen is Mr. Fred Boyles. Mr. Boyles, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I am here.
Welcome. Welcome, sir. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Fred Boyles. My wife and I live at 709 Margaret Street. I want to express my appreciation to Mayor and Council for allowing me to say a few words regarding the zoning issue on the lot behind us, which is known as Lot 274 on Hall Street. I also want to thank Council members Goodman, Grant, Gant, Riley, and Williams for taking time out to speak to me and to listen to my concerns, as well as the other concerns of the adjacent landowners. Myself, and I don't claim to speak for the other landowners, although I have talked to all of them but one. These are the landowners who surround this piece of property that is proposed to be rezoned to small subdivision to allow 2 houses to be built on this lot. Based on City Council's last meeting, there was a meeting held on this past Thursday with the builder and developer, Mr. Terry Stover of Pond River LLC, along with Kenneth Hughes. And I will tell you that I came away feeling good about Mr. Stover's intentions. Also, it was suggested to me that he's a good builder and a good citizen, and I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But that, however, is not the issue. Mr. Mayor and other members of the council, the issue is that all of the adjoining landowners, except one, that was the one person I was never able to speak with, either went to the Planning Commission or wrote to the Planning Commission objecting to this decision or this proposal to put 2 homes on 1 lot. And for us, the issue is not that we oppose the development of the property, it's the idea of 2 homes versus 1. All of us believe that there's really 2 issues at stake here. One is that our quality of life and the values of our property will be diminished from putting 2 homes on this property. And our second concern is the process in general. Although we all expressed our concerns about developing this property, it really, especially at the Planning Commission, it seemed to us that it really didn't matter what our opinion was. And when I spoke with other folks, sort of the thing that I would hear over and over again is, it really doesn't matter what we think, they're going to do what they want to do. And I hope that's not the case. I hope that those of us who have invested are in our properties, our homes, and made improvements, that our concerns will not fall on deaf ears. And Mr. Mayor and other members of council, I and my wife ask that you respectfully turn down this proposal to create a subdivision on this property. With that, sir, I thank you very much for allowing me to speak before council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyles. Our next citizen is Mr. Bob Hurst. Mr. Hurst, are you online?
Yes, I'm online, Mr. Mayor, and the last name is pronounced Durst.
All right, thank you.
Good evening,
yes,
Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and all council members. My name is Bob Durst, and I live at 806 Riverview Drive East, which is directly across the street from the plaintiffs who currently house pigs. I just want to recap. This case was brought to the city's planning department where everyone had a chance to plead their case. And after about 35 minutes, all but one neighbor told the council, we do not wish to smell the pigs and the danger of having the feces laying around, especially seepage into the ground and our water supply for our wells. It was the decision of the city planning board to deny the variance. So I researched a few things that some people may not know. And the article came up, is pig feces harmful to humans? Well, yes, it is. Salmonella is a condition caused by bacteria which can infect and live in your intestines. There's also streptococcus, which includes meningitis, just to name a couple. Then I looked up a North American Pet Pig Association. And under the U.S. federal law, emotional support animals, comfort animals, and therapy dogs are not service animals under Title II and Title III of the ADA. Other species of animals, whether wild or domestic, trained or not, a doctor's letter does not turn an animal into a service animal. The neighbors knew prior to moving into the city that they were not allowed to have pigs, but yet they have them anyway with no regard to anyone else. They purposely erected a 6-foot-high fence installed to conceal the pigs from the neighbors, but they claim it was built to keep their cats in, which we all know was a lie. If you ever been on a farm or a zoo or even a petting zoo, you know there's an odor that comes from these animals. And I, for one, do not wish to live where I have to smell this every day. The neighbors on our street have voiced our concerns, and now we ask you to put a stop to this nuisance before this opens the door for whatever livestock comes to our town. I appreciate your time and ask that you may do the right thing for all of the neighbors on our block. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Mr. Durst. My apologies about the name. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Madam Clerk, our next citizen is Mr. Mark Fowkes. Mr. Fowkes, are you there?
Their cats in, which we all know was a lie. If you ever been on a farm or a zoo or even a petting zoo, you know there's an odor that comes from these animals. And I, for one, do not wish to live where I have to smell this every day.
I did have Mr. Fowkes on the line.
Mr. Fowkes?
Before this opens the door for whatever livestock comes to our town. I appreciate your time and ask that you do the right thing for all of the neighbors on our block. Thank you.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, will you, again, we have to ask everyone, if you have live streaming going on, you need to either discontinue the live streaming and stay live, And when you are on, please keep your phones on mute. But so that may have precluded us from getting to Mr. Fowles. So Mr. Fowles, are you there? Well, I tell you what, let's proceed to the next speaker, and if Mr. Fowles does come on, Madam Clerk, then we can insert him afterwards. But so our next speaker is, my apologies, Ms. Mishra.
Hi.
Are you there?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Mayor. Yes. Hi.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. So first, I would like to just address something Mr. Cooper said about some implications that I allegedly made that my race had anything to do, or I thought that my race had anything to do with this. And I want to emphasize really, really emphatically that I've never said anything about race, my race, or anything else. I live in a mixed race family, and I really appreciate the diversity of this neighborhood as well. And I definitely don't think it's about race. I mean, the neighbors across the street who are opposed to the pigs in the backyard are of different races. I don't think race really has anything to do with it. I hope I never implied that. I just said that I thought that there may be some personal issues that were not really being mediated between and amongst ourselves in a very adult way, but instead, brought through other kind of official channels, escalated in maybe prematurely. But aside from that, there were a lot of points made that I wanted to address, but regarding the smell, the alleged smell, the code enforcement officer, Mr. Sampson, visited spontaneously. He walked into the backyard where the pigs live and did not smell a single thing. I, again, would like to reiterate that the smell does not come from the pigs. The smell that I once apologized to a neighbor about was coming from our garage, from trash that I had not been able to fully dispose of that week, and that had attracted some flies, and that I had brought a fly trap to deal with. The fly trap contained rotten eggs, and it's like some kind of invention that I got on Amazon, and it was very, very, very smelly. And that was what the odor was from, and I would like to reiterate that and invite, with my husband's consent, I would have to talk to him about this, but invite neighbors. I would like to reach out to neighbors, maybe invite them to the backyard to see the animals, see the landscape, and smell for themselves. It really doesn't smell bad on a hot day or a cold day. The only neighbors that are actually contiguous to our land, the only ones who can actually see the pigs in our backyard, they are either neutral, as far as they've expressed, and I've asked them directly, they're either neutral or fans of the pigs. And only one of them showed up to the planning commission meeting because I hadn't reached out, knocked on doors, gone on a campaign on our behalf. I didn't really do that, but I have spoken to them, and they have said, Angela, who's on one side of us, directly adjacent to us, has said she has never had an issue with the pigs or smell or anything. And the neighbor behind us, Steve, is a fan of the pigs and says there's no smell. I mean, they're our closest neighbors. They're right next to us. They share the land with us. The land connects. The complaints have been from two neighbors who are across the street from us. Our grass area does not connect. And they also don't see. They don't have, they don't see, and they're not within earshot of the pigs. One of the neighbors said she was not even aware pigs were there until she saw a pig outside. And they had been there for a while. And there's that. And also the other members present at the Planning Commission meeting I don't think they were immediate neighbors. I don't even think they were very nearby. I don't think they've ever seen the backyard or anything. But I do take everybody's concerns sincerely and seriously. And we built the fence to try to minimize any kind of disturbance and to be discreet, as well as for the cats. we built the second side of the fence for the cats. But I guess regarding feces, I'm happy to pick up and dispose of the feces in plastic bags like one would do with other pets. People don't do that with indoor-outdoor cats, but a pig's feces are, they're herbivores, and they, like I said, they go eliminate in a corner in the hedges far, far away from the pond, which they can be permanently barred from by the metal gate that we have, metal fence that we have with, between the two fences that block the front yard.
Ms. Mishra, we have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Okay. And so, I'm happy to dispose of that in that way. And also regarding, let's see, I would encourage anybody to maybe look up the case law Barnes versus Anderson in Indiana. My friend, Allison, who's an entomologist, she told me that they won the appeal. Essentially, these were two ladies who had a pet pig, and the city was opposed to it. And they won the appeal thanks to the vagueness of the local ordinance language and a loophole because they were not raising or breeding the pig for agricultural purposes. The USDA does not consider mini pigs. These are, in fact, mini pigs because they range from 80 to 200-ish pounds. It does not consider mini pigs agricultural products. They're not used as pork. They're almost 100% used as, pets, not used, but regarded as pets or support animals of that kind. But in the ordinance language, it's of St. Mary's, it's also vague or not defined. We brought this up at the Planning Commission. Livestock is not specifically defined. And so, I think maybe that should be changed or could be changed to avoid this problem in the future.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. And so if I could go back to, is Mr. Vaults online now?
Online. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Vaults? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is Mark Fouts. I'm at 310 West Bryant Street. And I want to thank the council and mayor for letting me speak tonight. I actually have comments on 3 separate items. The first one is for the Pond River Farms subdivision on Hall Street. I guess by the strict interpretation of the ordinance, it appears that the property could be subdivided into 2 lots. But after listening to the neighbors and seeing some of their letters, I have to believe that builders and developers do have some obligation to promote neighborhood cohesiveness. I appreciate that the council sent it or put it on a hold last week for the parties to get together and try to come to some type of an agreement. And I'd really hope that they could do that again and maybe try to get the parties to have some agreement so that they can have a mutually beneficial type of establishment there. The second thing I wanted to talk about was new business with the water taxi. Let me preface this by saying I like the idea of a water taxi, and I think it's a good idea, but I do have a couple of concerns about it. The first thing, it was the resolution that St. Mary's put out on the water taxi, and one of the paragraphs says, whereas because the water taxi transportation system will generate significant economic, transportation, and other public benefits for the city of St. Mary's. I think that might have been a little bit premature. I've never seen any type of a study to show that this thing would substantially benefit the city of St. Mary's. But a couple of things that bothered me about this, if you look at the Fernandina agreement, paragraph 6 speaks to the indemnification of Fernandina for the taxi, and there's no mention of any indemnification for St. Mary's whatsoever. Paragraph 7 speaks to commercial liability. That's for Fernandina, and once again, there's no mention of St. Mary's. Paragraph 23 speaks to the taxi's work, or the taxi's owner is being responsible for damage for the environment. Once again, there's no information on St. Mary's that we would have this type of protection. Paragraph 24 talks about the conduct of the people that operate the water taxi, and it covers, once again, Fernandina and not St. Mary's. And finally, paragraph 38 talks about an option to terminate and liquidated damages, and that's, once again, for the city of Fernandina. So I guess what I'd like to see is it appears that the $20,000 for this at present is just nothing more than a gift. And I think the city of St. Mary's would do well to draft some type of an agreement that they talk about performance expectations and liability mitigation. And one of my other fears on this thing is that you're setting a precedent. I think Mr. Horton's probably going to talk about the marina over at the Gateway this evening a little bit. Building the docks is a good start for that, and once again, I'm very happy to see that. But I think for the city to fully get the best benefit from that type of a building, you need to be looking at fuel dispensing arrangements. You need to have restrooms. You need to have laundry facilities, because what we're trying to do is get transient boaters in here to come into St. Mary's to spend their money and to enjoy themselves. As at present, I haven't seen anything that addresses those things, but suppose Mr. Lang decided he wanted to supply those. Is the city of St. Mary's also prepared to give him a $20,000 gift to help his business get off the ground? And I would think, if I was Mr. Lang, I would certainly say, well, if you're going to do it for this taxi service, you should be doing it for me too. So before we just go out and give away $20,000, like I said, I think you need to write up some agreement with them for performance expectations and at least liability mitigation. And the last thing I wanted to speak of real quick was this CARES grant. I understand that the total of this grant is $971,939.50. And during your all's discussion tonight, I'd really like to have some definition of what types of expenses this grant can cover. To me, that seems like a whole lot of money, and so far I haven't seen a great expenditure, or I'm not aware of a great expenditure from St. Mary's for these types of dollars. With that, I'll let you all go and commence with the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fouts. And now we should have Mr. Mike Fulford. Mr. Fulford?
Yes. Can you hear
good.
me?
Welcome, sir. Yes, sir, we can.
Listen, I'm Mike Fulford. I live at 1215 Burrell. I have the lake in back of my house that joins the property for the people that have the pigs. You know, these pigs, whatever they get out and wallow around in the back end of that lake, you know, the neighbors fish in it, the kids catch the fish, they eat them, I guess, but it's just not a good thing to have as far as a visual for our neighborhood. Now, if you ride down the street over here, the houses are in order, they're clean, neat, with the exception of one or two, and it's just not the message I don't think this neighborhood or the city of St. Mary's wants to have. If the folks knew the permit, it would require a permit to have the animals before it came, they should have applied for it and gone through it, and that steps there. In my opinion, if you want to have animals like that, you need to go in a neighborhood that's zoned for it. I don't think it should be the burden of the neighbors to have to put up with that. And you know, if you ask yourself what a reasonable person would do, I mean, if it was a little pot-bellied pig on a leash like a little dog, that's one thing. But this is not. And I see the pigs when they get down in the lake, and they do, and that's a fact. And I think it's a bad thing to do. And I can't smell them up here, but they do get in there and wallow in the lake, and it looks bad. I want the guy to get a fair shake. I don't want him to be bullied or pushed around or whatever else. But this is a little bit too much out of line, and I think any reasonable person would think that too. Thanks a lot, and you guys have a good evening.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fulford. And now we should have Mr. Robert Moore. Mr. Moore, you there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Robert Moore, 509 Westgate Circle. I mainly wanted to call in to speak to the water taxi item. Mark Faust outlined some very key points. I noticed the Fernandina paperwork, and I did not see the same. I don't want to rehash what he said, but I agree that it appears that Fernandina covered their rear end, and we're kind of hanging out in the wind for the possibility of anything that may happen. The biggest thing I have a problem with is the water taxi idea was played around with about 8 years ago. It did not work out. I don't see where much has changed in St. Mary's where this operator is going to be much more profitable, for one. Second thing is the city is now investing in one private company, enterprise, that could be acceptable. However, this enterprise is based out of Florida. So my tax dollars would subsidize a company that's based out of Florida. Where's the other subsidies for all the other hurting business owners that's providing these tax dollars for this novel idea? I think it looks like a swampy, some kind of a friend agreement to give them cash for a novel idea. If this goes through, I strongly recommend that every business owner that has taken it in the nose, taken it from the backside with the COVID and everything else, ask for the same kind of subsidy to stay open. If the council, if you collectively decide to move forward on the water taxi, I chalk this up as a tourist type venture, then this money should come from the DASM or the DDA budget that's already allocated. This is something that came out of the think tanks of these boards that are supposed to stimulate business for downtown, so let them pay for it out of their budget. I still have not seen or heard enough of a vibe or an energy on the streets that would make this water taxi lucrative. And with that in mind, I don't see how the city would ever recoup $10,000 worth of sales tax in a year based off that. I have heard some discussions that possibly this would be marqueed as a stop on the East Coast Greenway for the bicyclists. I still don't see where there's enough bicyclists to justify the expenditure. If there was sufficient data, then we could have that talk. But it still does not get around the fact of the city is investing in one small enterprise when the rest of downtown business owners are struggling, are bobbing and weaving, figuring out how to stay open during this crazy time that we're in. That's all I've got to say about the water taxi. The last thing I've got is to Mr. Horton, sir, any chance of getting a grass crew out to Crooked River? We are probably into about week 5. We do have a unknown private citizen that randomly goes out and trims the edges of all the easements and the medians on his own dime. So it's a bit irritating that us property owners are paying our property tax. We can't get the level of service that we're promised, but then $20,000 or $10,000 a year is going to go to a water taxi. Thanks for your time, Mayor, Council. Have a good evening.
All right, Mr. Moore. And the next is Mr. Cody Smith. Mr. Smith, are you online?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm here.
How are you? All right. Yes. Please proceed.
Good, sir. Yeah, my name's Cody Smith. I live at 134 Dogwood Circle over in the Crooked River subdivision. Really, I'd like to address it's agenda item A under new business. It's the resolution with the water taxi. I mean, I myself am a St. Mary's business owner, and I never received a $10,000 gift from the city either. When you go into business, you assume a risk, and I imagine if the water taxi were to see this as a profitable venture, they would take their own risk instead of coming to the city of St. Mary's and asking for $10,000 for startup costs and operating expenses for the next 2 years. So that's really just my major concern. We're a capitalist society, and if you're going to take the risk, you got to do it on your own dime. You don't come to the government for handouts. And with that, I wish you guys the best. Oh, I would just like to ask also, when you are deliberating the vote for the $10,000, maybe we could have some discussion or some dialogue on the justification for it. Maybe if we could get an understanding on why you think they need the money, I think that'd be good. So thank you.
All right, and thank you, everyone. I believe, Madam Clerk, that we've included everybody that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes,
right.
sir, for the first reading audience, yes, sir.
All right, that's good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, citizens. All right, so Council, we can proceed to our first item of old business, which is a minor subdivision request for 703 West Hall Street by Jeff Forrester for Pine River Farms, LLC. And Mr. Hughes, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you just want to give a quick frame for what this is, or any of the citizens that are on that maybe not be familiar with this line item, and then we'll proceed into talking with council.
Yes, sir. Mr. Foster, on behalf of Terry Stover, Pond River Farm Sub, is requesting this 1 lot, 2 lot subdivision. Both of the lots meet the requirements of the ordinance as written. The Planning Commission recommended approval of it. This is located on Hall Street between Ann and Margaret. At the last City Council meeting, it was tabled and staff was directed to meet with the developer and interested parties from the neighborhood in order to have a discussion about it. We had that meeting last week, as Mr. Boyles indicated earlier, with Mr. Stover. That is essentially, I believe, what I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. All right. So, council, I don't think we're ready for a motion. So why don't we start with, I think, the discussion on this. And is there anyone who would like to go first?
Well, I'll go first.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I thought it was Mr. Gant. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Who's
Hello?
up? Who won?
All right. I heard Mr. Gant first. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to ask our planning director, isn't it true that this is within the ordinance as far as the square feet that's allotted to both buildings, houses, and also that we've done this before on other flag lots?
Yes, sir. That is true on both counts. The current lot that is there measures 100 by 218 feet. So there's 21,800 square feet. Lot 1 has been allocated 10,000 square feet, the minimum for an R1 district. Lot 2 has been allocated 11,800 square feet. So they both meet the requirements, and the Planning Commission found that they met the other requirements. Additionally, it is true that we have approved flag lot subdivisions in the past. In fact, there was one 2 months ago for Mr. Fudge that the City Council approved.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think, was that Mr. Goodman also that was next?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm always happy to defer to Jim Gant. I've listened to the explanations, and I think you have the intent of a law and the letter of a law as being two different things. What impressed me most out of everything I heard tonight from the presenters is when someone makes a statement that, quote, it doesn't matter what we think, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. That hurts. And I don't think we have to do what we're going to do. I think we have to take into consideration all of the factors. Now, we've written a code, and it specifies things, and they are always open to interpretation. I don't have any doubt but what the letter of the code allows this. What I doubt is that the intent of the code ever intended to have a situation that was so objectionable to all of the neighbors, and for very good reasons, as mentioned, quality of life, the value of their properties, all of which are provable things. So I am looking at the interpretation that says that the parking area and the setbacks are included in those calculations, netting 10,000 square feet for the lot. And then I question, well, who is interpreting it? And I'm going to say this just like I think it is. And I'm going to say it very civilly and very politely and in an effort to bring some light to this situation. The Planning Commission has in its membership people who are not necessarily more interested in quality of life issues, but they're real estate people and developers and promoters. And I think that's a fundamental problem that St. Mary's has. And I'm asking the council to look at this thing, to back off of it, and really be sure that the interpretation of the code to include the parking area and the setbacks and the removal of trees, the canopy, and the inherent problems with things like firefighting. When you have a narrow lane leading down to a structure and cars are going to be parked on it, how difficult is that going to be for emergency responders to get down that lane? I myself live on a 100-foot deeded driveway. If anybody parks on my driveway or in my driveway, the firefighters and the emergency response people can't come down my driveway. I actually live in a lot that is jammed in behind the house. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking at Florida 3 miles away. I have a beautiful view. I don't consider the house in my, quote, front yard to be in my front yard. It's just a place where I come and go. So I have a feel for this problem. And I see it from the standpoint of a background in emergency medical and firefighting response. So there are a lot of reasons why we need to draw our breath, look at this thing from the standpoint of the consistency of interpretation and the quality of life for our people. And for gosh sakes, let's not be caught not listening to the voters. That's a very important point. I'm not going to belabor this point. I've said my say. You've heard the impassioned plea. Let me say one more thing about the neighbors. Don't judge what's happening in terms of the neighborhood response by having only Mr. Boyles come and speak to this issue and for Mr. Fouts to also address it. This is an elderly neighborhood. These people are extremely ill and infirm, and they don't get out. And it's important that you understand that they were sincere when they shot their shot with their letters. You look at their shaky handwriting on some of them, and I'm not criticizing it. I'm calling it for what it is. It tells you something. My heart goes out to them. I don't want to see this divided into two lots. The ones that I've talked to have said that they are perfectly fine with having it divided, having it developed with one house on the end, the same way it's been done, exactly opposite on that lane, Kumo Street or whatever it's called. And they would be okay with that. And that would be in keeping with the characteristic of the neighborhood. Thank you very much for listening. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Goodman. Who's next, please?
Mayor, I'd like to say a few words on this behalf.
Yes, Mr. All right, yeah, Mr. Jones, excuse me.
I agree with Mr. Goodman. I know the developer. He's a great guy. He does great work. I respect him for everything that he does, but he's a developer. You know, once he builds these houses, he'll leave, and then the neighborhood will have to deal with it for the rest of their lives. It's evident that the neighbors think that it will pose a hardship. So for that fact alone, I think that maybe we need to keep it intact and build one home on it. But, you know, all developers, they want to get as much bang for the buck as they can. And even though it's legal, we have to look at the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right, who's next?
I have one question for Mr. Hughes again. Was there any agreement at all or any come together at the meeting you had with the developer that eased the pain to the neighborhood and the trees in particular?
There was no sort of agreement made. After the meeting, Mr. Boyles indicated that he would take the matter into consideration, and I think he spoke well to his concerns again during granting audience to the public.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. We also had a lady. We also had a letter from a lady that has requested her letter be read into the minutes of the meeting.
Yes. Go ahead, please. What's her name?
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna mess up the name. Brockhausen, Miss Elaine Brockhausen, John and Elaine. It's real quick. It's homeowners on 707 Margaret Street in the vicinity of parcel of land on Como Street, designated as block 274 or tax parcel 50 . We would like to express our opposition to the designation of subdivision minor lots 1 and 2. First of all, this parcel of land abuts my street and is close to another where there are sometimes young children at play and where the traffic, not usually considerable, straight as arrow on Hall Street, is a reality. In addition, this parcel seems too small and too close to surrounding neighbors for the addition of 2 houses. We strongly believe the addition of 2 houses to this location will negatively affect the impact, the character, the quality, and the resale value in this very special neighborhood. As senior citizens, we have chosen to live at 707 because of its peaceful loveliness, special privacy, and location to many of the conveniences of a city environment on a manageable scale nearby shopping, dining, and quality medical care. While we understand the proposed development adds to the property tax base, it could deviate the value and desirability of the properties already here. Would such potential deviation be taken into account if this development goes through? Because of our ages, we spend little time at public forums, and therefore we wish this letter to speak for us at the July 21st hearing. So that's the end of the letter, sir.
Okay, and Madam Clerk, was that the only request for someone to have their comments read? I think it was, but I just want to confirm.
Yes, sir. That contact me. Yes, sir.
All right, good. Okay, so council, back to the discussion. Mr. Riley or Rassi or Ms. Williams, comments? Discussion? Okay. None being said, then council, I need the will of the council as far as the direction here. We can have a motion for, a motion against, or a motion to table. We need to have discussion about the direction, please.
This is Goodman. I make a motion that we table this matter for further review.
All right, I have a motion for a table for this project.
Mayor.
And yes, who's that?
This is Steve Blackerby.
Yes. Oh,
Kenneth,
I'm sorry, Mr. Blackerby. Yeah. Go ahead.
Kenneth may be able to weigh in on this, but I believe there is a time limit on how long council can wait to act on this once the planning commission has made its decision. If I'm not mistaken, It's supposed to be acted upon within 30 days of the planning commission.
Okay. Mr. Hughes, can you help us with that?
Yes, sir. The ordinance, I'm looking for it here, specifies that upon decision of the council, if you'll just bear with me a moment, after the final plat has been approved, which was done by the Planning Commission, the City Council within 30 days at a regular meeting of City Council review and vote on such plat. If no action is taken within the 30-day period and the applicant has not requested an extension, or City Council has not raised any issue that would affect said approval, such plat shall be deemed to have received approval from the City Council.
All right. So, and Mr. Blackerby, you need to give council an interpretation.
Yeah, that was the ordinance provision I was thinking of, and
okay.
Yes, I read it. If there's no action taken on this tonight, then I think we're 20-something days out from the Planning Commission decision. Is that right? Kenneth, do you know how long it's been? So
yes,
we're coming up on that third.
Just about a month.
This will be the last regular meeting of council before that 30-day deadline, and so if there's no action taken, I think that ordinance provides that it will be deemed to have been approved by council.
Okay, and so action does not include whether it's tabling for further review.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it says the City Council shall, within 30 days at a regular meeting, review and vote on such plat. So it strictly says that the council's job is to review and vote.
All right, so it's either up or down. There's no, but what was that portion about extension? There was some language in there. You said relative to the developer can come back to either the planning commission or the council. Can you read that part again, please?
Yes, sir. It says if no action is taken within the 30-day period and the applicant has not requested an extension or City Council has not raised any issues that would affect said approval, such plat shall be deemed to have received an approval from the City Council.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
yes, ma'am.
It sounds to me that if we have raised concern that we want to have further investigation or discussion about this issue, then that allows us to get out of that clause where it's automatically approved. I think concerns have been raised. What has occurred to me is that what may happen if Mr. Stover doesn't get his 2 houses out of this subdivision of this lot, he may well decide to build a larger house that has a garage apartment that is rentable behind it. I have, living here in the downtown area, I know of a number of houses that have rentable garage apartments or cottage apartments behind the main dwelling. So he might decide to go that route. And I think the neighbors may need to think in terms of whether that is a desirable outcome of this particular situation. I think that we've raised questions that would allow us to table this and do some more talking and investigating.
So, Mr. Blackerby, we're trying to wind our way through something that will allow this to continue. Do you see a path forward where the council can have further discussion, not take action, have further discussion by tabling it? And if we were to do that, then would the applicant need to, as Mr. Hughes says, file again? Or what's a path forward if we were to try and work on this motion that Mr. Goodman's created?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at that specific language in the ordinance again, and it's a bit vague, but it says, as Ms. Williams pointed out, that if City Council has not raised any issues that would affect said approval, and certainly you all have raised issues.
Right.
The ordinance is just not crystal clear what this language here means, but you all have raised issues. I will tell you that obviously I'm being kind of put on the spot here to try to figure out what this language was intended to mean. And
right, I'm sorry that we've got you at this point, but
we're not. I mean, I'll say there's a bit of a gray area with this. I mean, I don't know that this has ever come up before, where issues have been raised at a council meeting and then no action taken within the 30 days. So, I don't know that we've got any past experience with this to use as sort of a guidepost, but I think you all have at least some cover here if you want to table it for further discussion and to look at these issues more. I would just be very clear in doing so I'd be very clear to state what the issues are that are prompting you to table it for further discussion.
What do we hope to achieve by tabling again? I mean, we've already tabled once. We had the meeting. It obviously didn't do anything really to move the question forward. If we table again, what do we want to get out of it? Are we just going to be right back here again in 2 weeks with the same conclusion?
Well, actually, that's the problem. Our next meeting is not until September what, Madam Clerk?
21st, sir. September 7th is a federal holiday.
Right, and
so
today
September
is what?
21st.
Yeah,
August
so
17th.
we're almost 4.5 weeks out from the next regular city council meeting. It's not to say we can't have.
Question: What do we intend to get out of another table. I mean, I don't see any way forward except to vote on it one way or the other, up or down.
Mayor Morrissey?
Yes,
this
sir.
is Alan Rassi.
Yes,
I
sir,
have
please.
spent a lot of time reviewing the information and then being able to reflect upon all the citizens that raise their concerns, and why I have the utmost respect and as already mentioned about Terry Stover being an incredible builder for our community. I really struggle with this, and I just don't see how we can table it, do Terry Stover any justice by delaying it 5 weeks or whatever. I just think we need to come up with a solid answer to set the citizens' minds at ease, the ones that live in that area. I don't see how we can continue to table this and then gain any ground either way. I don't need to vote up or down, as Jim Gant said. We just need to make a hardcore decision and move forward from there. Rassi out.
Okay, thank you. Now, anybody else? Back around the dais here.
This is
We
Riley.
have a motion.
This is
Yes, sir.
Riley. I did have a couple comments, Mr. Mayor. I mean, we've got to consider the business or the developer in this case as well. He's invested money based on what our ordinances allowed, and the investment he has is also diminished, and his investment was to make the city better, not worse. And unfortunately, the place that he is doing this in is the neighbors are greatly opposed to it. But I think we do need to consider that, and also something Mr. Goodman said: if it's being built on a narrow lot where firefighters or EMS can't get there, is that an issue? And we need really to make sure that we ask the fire chief if it meets all of those requirements. So I would be in favor of hearing what Mr. Stover intends to do with that lot if we deny this, and consider what Ms. Williams said with respect to what he's going to have to do with that piece of property to recover his money. I'm sure he never considered that this was going to be anything objectionable to the neighbors. Otherwise, I don't think he would have invested in it. But at least I'd like to think that, and that's what his intent was. So I'm really in favor of Mr. Goodman's motion to table this and let a discussion carry out. And let's hear Mr. Stover and the landowners or homeowners in that area at the same time. I think we'd be reaching something tonight that in the end nobody's going to be happy, especially if something other than what he has proposed on that property, and maybe what he comes and tells us would change our minds. So I for one would like to make sure that we hear that before we either deny or approve this subdivision. So,
okay,
Riley out.
All right.
That's my comment.
Yes, sir. Ms. Williams, did you want to weigh in, or I know you've already spoken, so.
No, I think I've said enough.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Blackerby, several things for everyone that is listening in on the phone, and I know council is fully aware of it because they've all brought it up. So we have laws and we have codes and we have precedents, and you have discussed the code and you've discussed the precedents and the Planning Commission's review. So we clearly have a situation as has been outlined. We've got the letter of the law and we've got the intent of the law. And So we definitely have a dilemma. So, one of the questions in my mind, and I'm sure everyone else's, is having set precedent like this with flag lots in the past, if you were clinically objective about making a decision, you have the information, and you have the process, and you have the past process, and you follow through with the logical conclusion. But that is probably going to end up doing more harm than good on both sides. And to the point, we have not heard from the developer in this discussion, and he did reach out to the community, and I think they did have a dialogue, which I thought was very positive. I don't know that there is a solution to this, but I have to think that from a city legal perspective, and our path forward is normally very, very clear. But what I'm looking for is for Mr. Goodman's motion to be able to be sustained, so that I think everybody would like to entertain, which is, can we find a solution that makes people more comfortable? So do we, given the language's ability to probably be interpreted, if indeed we table this, you said it's being tabled for, so we've got to have the reasons, and we may have to adjust the motion, but also I'm after what is the process? If we do this, what are we going to do, and when are we going to do it, and what's the conclusion, and how does council deal with this? Can we indeed wait for 4.5 weeks to then take this back up again? So I know a lot of questions, but Stephen, I think we could all use some guidance.
Well, going back to the form of the motion and looking at the language in the ordinance, again, it says that it's not going to be deemed approved if no action is taken because City Council has raised an issue that would affect said approval. So I would frame the motion, if you're going to table it, I would frame the motion as a motion to delay the vote in order to allow time to address the issues raised by council. And you may want to mention one or two of those issues. For example, I've heard several mentions made about access for emergency vehicles. So I'm kind of imagining that you might want to have a motion to delay the vote in order to address the issues raised by council, including emergency vehicle access to the property. And then assuming that it gets delayed, that motion passes, the ordinance is silent as to when it would come back up again, but I would certainly recommend that you have it on the agenda for the next regular meeting. I don't think you should drag this out any longer than absolutely necessary. And I would try to diligently work toward resolving whatever the issues are that council sees as an impediment to this.
All right, Mr. Blackerby, would you put that timeline in the motion?
Yeah, I guess how about a motion to postpone the vote on this matter until the next regular scheduled meeting?
Okay.
In order to allow additional time to address the issues raised by council, including emergency vehicle access.
Okay, so help me with this now. Mr. Goodman's motion was fairly straightforward. Can he recall the motion on his own, or do we have to vote to allow him to do that? Because what I'm thinking about is...
motion, I would think.
Well, Mr. Blackerby, should we recall the motion, or do we have to amend the motion, vote on the amendment, and then vote on the motion?
I think the person making the motion can withdraw it, and that'd probably be the cleanest way to do it. Just have it withdrawn in a new motion.
Okay, Mr. Goodman, you there?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Jim?
my phone was cutting out. Did you address
Okay,
me?
so did you hear what we'd like to see for process, Mr. Goodman? If you could recall your motion and then restate the motion that you have in the context that Mr. Blackerby's created.
As long as I can do it in one seamless statement so that nothing happens to it, yes.
With one breath?
I'll again do it. All right, I withdraw the motion.
All right.
Are you ready? I
Yes,
withdraw
and
the
so
motion as stated.
we'll have a motion for.
And I make a motion that we delay the vote until the next regularly scheduled meeting to consider, and the reason for that is to consider several issues, including access of emergency vehicles and further interpretation of the setbacks and driveway portions of the lot and easements.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I have a motion then from Mr. Goodman. Can I have a second?
Riley, second.
All right, I got Mr. Riley. Now, okay, council, do we have further discussion? Comments? The only thing I would say is Mr. Blackerby and Mr. Hughes and Mr. Horton, obviously, we really need to orchestrate taking the community and the developer and seeing if it may take more than one meeting. I don't know if they're all willing to do this, but I think that tasking has to fall on starting with the city manager. But given the nature of what we're dealing with, I think it's going to take some legal interpretation or legal assist along with the code itself, Mr. Hughes. So if the three of you are just made aware that we've got to be ready and completed by our next regular meeting. All right. So anyone else got a comment? All right. So Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. Would you please run the roster?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Brassey, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey.
All right, Madam Clerk, please mark that as unanimous. Thank you, Council. And so, Madam Clerk, you want to make sure that this item is on the agenda for the September meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. All right, next item under old business is the special use permit for 805 Riverview Drive for permit to keep 2 pigs on the property. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, Riley, make a motion we deny special use permit request.
Okay, you said the motion to deny?
Motion to deny,
okay.
Yes.
All right, and I'd like a second. I can't make out who was second.
That's Gant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gant. All right, can we go into discussion? Does anyone who want to comment on this item? All right, thank you. And by the way, thank you for all the participants. All right, Madam Clerk, will you run the roster, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Madam Clerk, before you do that, just repeat the motion.
Does that include citizens?
All right, no, please. All right, there are no citizens during this period in the council meeting, please. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please redo the motion? Just so that people, everyone's clear.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Riley made a motion to deny the special use permit. Councilmember Gant seconded the motion.
Okay. Is it clear, council? Then if so, Madam Clerk, will you go through the roster?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey.
All right, Madam Clerk, you mark that as unanimous, please. Thank you very much,
Yes,
Council. We'll move on to new business. This is a resolution on the water taxi transportation system for Amelia River excursions. And Mr. Horton, you want to do the frame on this thing?
Yes, sir, I can. In 2015, the city agreed to participate in a collective effort between Fernandina Beach and the city of St. Mary's to explore the possibility of a water taxi between the two communities. At the time, the city manager was tasked, along with other members as a steering committee, to meet with Fernandina representation to figure out how to do it. The city of Fernandina Beach is I guess you would say the parent organization behind it. We're more support there. But the two communities agreed in 2015 to support it with everything from marketing and to include financial support. It was agreed upon by the two cities to contribute $10,000 each for 2 years, 10 a year, and that was to help establish the fuel cost to get it up off the ground. That was the intent of the money. It also is the last leg of the Greenway, the trail between Georgia and Florida, and that's kind of where we're at right now, sir.
Okay, Mr. Riley, this was something that you have shepherded over the last few years, and so do you want to make your comments, and then we'll open up to the rest of council.
Yeah, this was. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. This has been discussed for a few years, and as Mr. Horton indicated, that the city of Fernandina Beach is the owner of the contract, and that accounts for a lot of the language that that was mentioned earlier. And it was agreed to by the city of St. Mary's, because what it does is it allows the East Coast Greenway to flow through St. Mary's. And as far as economic payback, we probably, I'm not going to be exact on these figures, but we've already been awarded about $400,000 in grants as a result of the East Coast Greenway connection. And the other half of that is the Winding Road Connector, which is the latest grant that we've received, and that's through the engineering, and then the construction will follow. That probably would be in jeopardy if we didn't complete the southern connection to Florida. And the amount of effort that went into that was significant, and like I say, City of Fernandina Beach is the executor or owner of the contract. They're executing it, and they needed that language, and the lawyer can really comment on that part, because I'm only speculating. That's the reason for that language that was mentioned during the income. So we've already received a great economic impact from this, many times more than what we're going to spend. And I think we'd be short-sighted not to approve it. I hope that helps.
Okay. All right. How about anybody else? Would you like to discuss this here on the dais?
Goodman here. I'd like to make some points.
All right. Who's Ms. Williams or Mr. Goodman? I couldn't pick up who was first.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Gant always. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Gant.
Jim, why are you always deferring to me?
Because
anyway, I
I
appreciate it.
before.
You're always deferring to me because I'm so much older than you.
No, I want to pick your brain so I can pick apart what you say. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I think that the ferry is a great idea. Obviously, it's been around the council for a long time, since 2015, I think Mr. Horton said, but I certainly knew about it. I know there's been a lot of work between Fernandina and St. Mary's to make this thing go. It did stress me a little bit when I was hearing about the liability issues, and I think Councilman Riley put that to ease, that it's not St. Mary's contract, it's Fernandina's contract. I would like to hear our council say anything in that regard, because we certainly don't want to take on liability. I don't see anything immediate as far as taking place on this, but we have been at the table with Fernandina for many years. And if we can make this thing work, it's going to be a great economic boom to St. Mary's and Fernandina for that matter. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We'll just have to see if there are any liability issues out there that we don't know about, because we can't certainly take on liability, but it's a good thing to move forward on this.
Okay. Who's next?
Mayor?
Goodman.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Goodman.
Yes, sir. I think Mr. Goodman was next, Mr. Jones.
Okay.
And ordinarily, Artie, I would tell people you're older than me, but I'd never make them believe it. All right, sir. With all due respect, and that sometimes is misinterpreted as a derogatory term. In this case, it's certainly not. I do respect the work that Mr. Riley and others have put into this. And I respect the fact that, there are positive things about it. However, I'm a product of all of my experiences in life, and part of those experiences was as a risk manager. And the first thing that jumped out at me, and let me make another preface, nobody in St. Mary's wants to see St. Mary's thrive and take full advantage of every opportunity to bring tourists through here, trekkers, journeyers of all sites. I love it. But in the process of doing that, we can't hang ourselves out in the wind. And here's where we're hanging in the wind. And I realized that Fernandina had to write a lease agreement because they are, in fact, leasing some property, and it's intensive on their end. However, my mind is not put at rest, Mr. Gant, having read their very wordy 8-page lease agreement, which indemnifies and holds harmless and places liabilities where they need to be, and specifies the ins and outs of the everyday world in which risk of adverse events must be recognized. Our side of the agreement is pretty lightweight. It's just a bunch of whereases, and it looks good, and that's part of it. It's ceremonial for the mayor to sign on our behalf, but we're hanging in the wind. And trust me, the lawyers will have a field day if we have one of those ferries come over to St. Mary's and spring a big diesel leak, or run into the dock and knock some people silly or kill them, or if we have an adverse event with an employee of that firm, or even in the process of the ship being somewhere between Fernandina and here, we're in trouble. And we have to recognize that. So the water taxi has been done before, and it did not work. And the reason for that was there was not ridership. And I've talked to the people who are in this kind of business, And that's not hard to figure out. And I can tell you this, if it was a viable plan, we know that we have people that have interest in this town who have the horsepower to do this. It is not a viable plan. And our $10,000 gift to them for this year and the promise of another gift is just a gift. And the real unfair thing about that is we have a restaurant downtown that has struggled for 4 years against all kinds of adversities, and now she has indicated that she's closing her doors, and this is public information, on December 13th. I'd rather give that money to that restaurant and have something here at home. And the question is, if we're going to do this for a couple of gentlemen out of Florida, and we're not going to do it for our own, that is entirely unfair. So the agreement and all of the legalese behind it is very unilateral. It's all in Florida's favor. It will be adjudicated, litigated, cut, diced, drawn, strung up, and quartered in Florida. We don't have a dog in that race, except to say that we're going to be named as someone who should have been an additional insured. We're not even that. And that's elementary business. You just don't proceed with this kind of obligation without indemnification. Now, as to ridership, yes, the Greenway is a wonderful thing. So if it's really going to be that great and it starts supporting that program, at a minimum, I want to see us write something into it that says that they can be somewhat self-sustaining. And if they're going to spend approximately, and this is off my head guess, $20, $25 for a ticket to ride the ferry, another couple of dollars to offset their cost is out of their pocket and not out of the city's pocket. Finally, I'd say if we are determined to do this, if we are absolutely determined to do this, we have the DDA and the DASM with some thousands of dollars between the two of them. I think one of the organizations has $48,000. Let's don't give $20,000 to these private businessmen and ignore our own people. $20,000 will put somebody in a tractor mower or a bush hog or something to do something about the ditches and the sidewalks and the edging and the appearance and the paper litter and everything else in St. Mary's. So I'd rather spend $10,000 taking care of what we have rather than to give $10,000 away. And with that, I'll just say this again. It is us investing in a private enterprise in Florida, and that is totally ludicrous. We do not have that kind of money. This is a want. It is not a need. And if it's going to jeopardize the Greenway grants and things, DASM can rescue us, or DDA can rescue us, not general revenues. I yield back to the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Who's next, please?
I think I was next, Mayor, but Mr. Goodman.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sorry.
He did what he usually do. He stole all my thunder. He said pretty much everything that I wanted to say. I also agree with the East Coast Greenway program and what it would do for St. Mary's. I commend Mr. Riley on the job that he's done in the past few years. It's a great thing, but $10,000 of taxpayers' money will help a lot of businesses go far, and I'm like Mr. Goodman, if we're going to spend this kind of money to help a business out, especially a business that's already failed in this area, I'd rather give it to some of the failed restaurants or stores in the area that would probably need it a lot more. A taxi service would be great. I wish we could get it without any putting up any private money. I mean, any taxpayers' money. Maybe it could come through some private donations, but I just hate to see taxpayers' money go into something like this to help a private enterprise. And we have so many other people in the area that's struggling that could use this money also. We're setting a bad precedent. That's all I have to say, Mayor.
Okay, who's next?
Mr. Mayor, could I make one more comment? With respect to the Florida business, that was an open RFQ announced here in the city of St. Mary's as well. And the terms of that RFQ and the awarding of it was very clear. Additionally, with respect to some of the failing businesses, that's one of the primary purposes of the Greenway coming to we haven't had, and that's the use those businesses and attend to them and spend their money, which is primary reason for pursuing this back in 2015. So.
Yeah. Mr. Riley, could you hold on for 1 minute? All right, ladies and gentlemen, will you please mute your phones? Madam Clerk, if there's any way that you can determine, we need. All right, I think that's done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Mr. Riley, you were overspoken with the chatter from that background. Do you want to complete that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, the whole thing is important.
Hello, is it? Can everybody hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay. What I had said is that was when the RFQ was announced, that was open competition announced in St. Mary's. In fact, we mentioned that up at on the dais, I'm sure. And also the main purpose of the Greenway coming through. Well, I shouldn't say that because we've already received great economic benefit from being able to advertise based on the 2015 approval that the southern connection to the East Coast Greenway will be completed when this ferry is operating. And the fact that that's going to bring people down there is going to fix what is a major problem, and that's getting people that will attend those restaurants and businesses that are downtown, and it will help them immeasurably. It's the statistics out there for this type of investment is 6 to 1 for just the road portions of Greenway. So I want to make sure that I make that clear, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to comment.
All right. And I think, Mr. Raskin, you were trying to speak.
Mr. Mayor, just before you go on, this is Mr. Gant. Has our attorney looked at the provisions of this agreement and decided that we're in pretty good shape from a liability standpoint?
This is Stephen, and I can respond to that if you'd like.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Yeah, so as Councilman Riley, I think already kind of hit on, we're in a different situation than Fernandina is because Fernandina is the actual contracting party with the ferry operator, and they were the ones who took the lead on all this. They were the ones who solicited the proposals and ultimately chose the provider that is going to operate this potentially operate this ferry service. So they have a contractual relationship with that ferry operator. We do not, which takes away the major source of potential liability. You've really got two types of liability that can attach. One is contractual liability, and the other is called tort liability. If you don't have a contract, you can't have contractual liability. And then as far as the tort liability is concerned, the city ought to have sovereign immunity, except to the extent that the city has insurance coverage. Sovereign immunity is waived by insurance, but only up to the amount of insurance. So by not having a contract, we don't have contract liability, and we shouldn't have any tort liability unless we have insurance coverage. And if we've got insurance coverage, then we're covered anyway. So I'm not terribly concerned about the liability issues. Having said that, I have no problem drafting a proposed agreement for the ferry operator and or the city of Fernandina to sign to indemnify us and hold us harmless to the extent that it could be even a potential claim. I will tell you, I came into this very late, didn't know anything about it till very recently, so I've not had any discussions with the ferry operator and have had very, very minimal discussions with Fernandina, so I don't know to what extent I don't know to what extent they would be open to signing an agreement of that sort at this stage, but I am more than happy to draft something and more than happy to communicate that any payment of any subsidy would be contingent upon their signing such an agreement.
Okay. All right. It's definitely a path forward, Mr. Blackerby. Thank you for that. And I think Mr. Rassi, you were trying to speak.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor. I really appreciate everyone's passion and their efforts, and I guess that's been my greatest concern as of this point is could we table this until we get the clarification from Mr. Blackerby's full understanding of what we're going to be legally obligated to? I mean, I think Mr. Blackerby has done an excellent job explaining it, but it seems like not all the I's and T's are dotted yet, and it would be great for us to be able to make sure that we have full clarity and understanding of what the contract entails. And I would feel like we need to table this for at least a month. I mean, I'm for it, but then again, there's some language in the contract that kind of makes me want to pull back a little bit. That's
all
it.
Right. Ms. Williams? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rassi. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Ms. Williams, did you want to weigh in?
I'm in favor of tabling just until we've had an opportunity for Mr. Blackerby to offer revisions, paperwork for Fernandina and the ferry operator to sign.
All right. Might I suggest to the council that there were, I think, a number of thoughts that have come across the dais today, and the economic redevelopment opportunities that are provided by any kind of actions by the council. I think it would behoove us to probably make it clear to everyone what we have either experienced through starting this process and document where we were, what's occurred, and if there have been benefits, what those benefits are, and what will be the final result of that, and what the potentialities are, as well as the legal concerns being addressed. So, Mr. Riley, obviously you have the passion for this item, and listening to the conversation, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to see what your thinking is here based on what we've been talking about.
Well, I certainly want everybody to be comfortable. The fact is that we moved forward. There's a contract with the boat owner. Mr. Horton and I met with the ferry operator a few weeks ago. He's looking forward, but we do have the time to get the agreement that Mr. Blackerby's calling about, so that people will feel more comfortable. But I do, as we do that, I really want to emphasize the fact that we have already received well over 300. I believe it's well over 300,000. I want to be careful how I say that. So if I'm a little off, and I think that's based on what you told me that grant funding was the other day, is largely responsible. We've received 4 grants, and largely because it's the East Coast Greenway through St. Mary's, and we've also got one on the table that we won last year, and then the people ran out of resources, DNR that is, and we came back and got the working on it again this year after they ran out of resources and put us back below the line. We're applying again this year, and we have high confidence that we're going to be successful in getting over well over $1 million for a contract. So this and that was the full intention of running the East Coast Greenway through St. Mary's, which brings many benefits other than economic. You all know them, health and the welfare and connections to schools, parks. We're not going to get that if we don't have this East Coast Greenway. And yes, I'm passionate. Yes, I've worked on this very hard for well over 4 or 5 years, and I'll continue to work on it. And if anybody has any questions after we take this vote, I would ask that you please call me so that we can discuss them and clear the air. The contract, by the way, was reviewed by the City of St. Mary's, and we signed off on it, and that wasn't me. That was city manager, and I thought the lawyer at the time. I could be wrong on that too, but that was the attorney before Mr. Blackerby, because he wasn't with us at the time. And I think that the I's have been dotted, T's crossed, and hopefully after we get this little bit of liability issue that some may have resolved, we can move on and make the city even better, which is what we're all about up here on this dais. So thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Riley, might I suggest that you make the motion for proceeding with further study of this to address some of the concerns of legal review for any particular items that might not be have been considered in the past, be it liability or anything else, and just let our attorney.
It's long-winded if we try to make a motion like that. I'd like to make a motion that we table it, give Mr. Blackerby an opportunity to draft the release of any liability that there may be. I think he's already adequately explained that the contract and tort is not there, but any other liability. Okay. Then bring it back to council for a vote. I think we've answered the economic questions. I think we've answered the issues that may arise from if there were any others discussed. But we've demonstrated the economic value of the trail. So.
All right. So I have a motion from Mr. Riley to table the water taxi item until the city attorney has had an opportunity to review it and possibly draft a document to make sure the city of St. Mary is properly protected for all legal concerns.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Was that satisfactory, Mr. Riley?
Yes, you got it.
Okay. I have a second from Mr. Jones. All right. Any further discussion? Mr. Blackerby, is it clear? Mr. Horton and you and Mr. Riley can circle around to start that?
Yes, I'll follow up with them this week and get on that.
All right. Any comments from anyone? All right. Madam Clerk, will you go through the roster for me?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey.
All right, Madam Clerk, please mark that as unanimous. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. A good discussion, everyone, and appreciate the input from everyone. So we have one item here. Item C is a resolution on coronavirus relief and budget ordinance amendment. And Madam, Ms. Brown, are you on the line still?
I am.
Okay, well, thank you for staying with us. I think we have questions about this, so why don't you just frame this, what this document and what this whole CARES program is about, if you want, briefly, and then we can let council go into question.
Sure. The state of Georgia received a lump sum of money in reference to the CARES Act, and part of that money was allocated down to the cities and counties within the state of Georgia. I think it was $1.3 billion altogether. The city of St. Mary's, it was divided by population. The city of St. Mary's received $971,000. Our first 30% was the $291, which is the budget ordinance tonight. That is to be used for things related to the COVID-19.
Okay. All right. So, council, I'll open it up for questions. Who's first? I think there's somebody wanted to speak or had a question about this line item.
Goodman.
Yes, sir.
You know, we're throwing some big numbers around, and I appreciate it, Ms. Brown. When we say that 291,000 was related to the COVID situation, that's a broad category. Without spending a lot of time on it, can you bring that down to the street level, real world? What do we spend the money on, and what do we look at for the balance of the 2/3 of the 971,000? Because here's why. Because we're mortgaging the future of our children and grandchildren, and I think we need to be real careful about that. That's a larger issue than just the city of St. Mary's, and I don't want to inject national politics, and I certainly don't want to inject any kind of partisan politics, but money is money. What are we doing? Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Yes,
Jennifer,
sir.
if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Jennifer, if I may. With all due respect, Mr. Goodman, I hear you loud and clear, sir. This is going to help cover salaries issues as far as the COVID goes. It's going to cover some of the electronic costs that we've had for our folks to be able to work at home when we were in that situation and are prepared to go again if we need to. It's paid for PPE. It's paid for temperature checks. It's paid for the things that we're having to do and expenses that we've had to occur due to the COVID response. If we don't accept this money, which I'm understanding what you're saying, Mr. Goodman, this money will revert back to the state to be spent at the state level as opposed here at home. It's going to allow us to do some things structurally to our building here at City Hall to make it where it's hands-free plumbing utensils, things of that nature. It's going to be able to clean up our front where our customer service area is, where so our people aren't sitting on top of one another. We can have the distance that's required there for their being able to work and also to serve our customers better. There's just a long list of different things that are in the plans and that we've already done, and we're trying to get our money back, plus be able to breathe a little bit to do some of the other stuff that we need to. It's also to help cover for additional trash pickups that we've been having to do on weekends because of COVID affecting our advanced contract, which is a whole other subject, and I realize that, but that's where that's covering up. So I don't know if I've completely answered it to give you a checklist of exactly what we're doing. I can't do that for you at this very moment, but that's what those expenses are lined out for. We can't spend them on everyday things.
Excellent, Mr. Horton, and my confidence level in you only increases the more you talk, and I appreciate the explanation, and y'all keep up the good work. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, all right, so Ms. Brown, you have, just I think for everyone's benefit, there are programs that are managed by the GMA and I think the state and some other organizations as far as helping municipalities and county governments work through the distribution of this CARES funding. And I understand you participated in some of these already. I just want to make sure people know that there are some tools that we're being given to help us make sure we're doing it right.
That's correct. I, as late as Friday, did a seminar with GMA on this to ensure that we are spending it correctly. We will be audited on this to make sure that we have done our due diligence and done what we're supposed to do and spent these funds properly. Okay. All right. And there are some insidious costs, I can tell you, Council, that have crept up, but the staff is keeping close tabs on all of these costs. So with that said, if there's anybody else that has a comment, otherwise, could we have a motion to accept these grant payments for the CARES program?
So moved, Mayor. Artie.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Jones. Can I have a second?
Second, Williams.
Second.
All right. I have Ms. Williams as a second. Now, Madam Clerk, can we go down the roster, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Aye.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2. Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey.
All right, Madam Clerk, please record that as unanimous. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Horton, report of the city manager, please.
Yes, sir. The first one is actually from Chief Wilkie. He wanted everyone to know that Ms. Kimberly Hausner from Law Publications will be calling on businesses this week to sponsor a law booklet program. These booklets they all have the messages of crime, domestic violence, stranger danger, drug education, human trafficking, etc. She will have an introduction letter from him as well as his business cards. PD did this many years ago, and they're trying to do it again. It's a crime prevention program. It's very useful, and it benefits everyone. So if anyone calls about the law publications, it's legitimate, and the PD will receive a percentage of whatever the ads are sold. Shrimp 2, we're excited. The last of the concrete was poured today. It's curing as we speak. We're excited about it because we're finally getting a lot more closer. They are scheduled to have the asphalt poured around City Hall this week, as long as the weather holds out. And towards the end of the week and the next week, they'll begin on the area in front of the pavilion. DOT has contacted us and will be doing a striping project at all the railroad crossings in the county and surrounding counties. But as a part of it, They'll also be striping from the railroad crossings on Spur 40 all the way north to Mush Bluff. So they're doing that railroad crossing all the way at Mush Bluff, and they'll be doing all these other railroad crossings here in the city as well. So if you're in these areas, we don't know exactly when, please be aware that there may be traffic delays and rerouting. We continually have inquiries about the silt fence and the containment boom that is in the water at the foot of Reddy Street. DNR has explained to us what's going on, what's required in order for it to be removed. There has to be 100% of vegetation in place, rooted, for that to be coming out. We're almost there, so just a little bit more time, we should be able to pull that stuff. Last Monday, or actually last Sunday, which would have been August the 9th, the firewall here at City Hall was struck by lightning. We lost our computers for several hours on Monday, and Ms. Goebel came to our rescue on her actual, she had taken a vacation day, and she came in to rescue us and was able to get a temporary fix to get us up and running again. And the end of last week was able to get that firewall repaired, and we're back in operation there. Due to time constraints, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report for this evening.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Any questions for City Manager? All right. So, Madam Clerk, we are at granting audience to the public, and I have two citizens, and the first one is Ms. Mishra. If you're on, please, you're welcome to speak.
Okay. Hello. Thanks again. So this is in regards to moving forward and steps forward. I don't know, and I have a question for the City Council. And the Mayor as well. I was wondering if you all read my appeal letter. I mean, I'm assuming you all read my appeal letter, appealing the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Because in the appeal letter, I asked for reasonable accommodation under the Fair Housing Act, just as long as, for the duration of the time it would take for us to find a new place to live. So it wasn't an appeal for a permit, but for just a reasonable accommodation for just as long as, we were on the hunt for a different place. That's just logistically much more doable for us, with kids and pets and moving and all that stuff. And also, I noticed there wasn't any discussion prior to the vote among the City Council, and I understand that this is not very economically impactful on my end, whether we have pigs here or not. And I also understand, the community sensitivities and kind of feelings about this are generally one way, and I appreciate that. I just, I was, one second. Mama! Okay, actually, one second, can you hush for a second? Mama! I kind of lost my train of thought, but I was, Mama! You have to hush for a second. Mama! I'll just, can I come back in a second?
All right,
that was, I would like to ask that question first, whether the City Council had seen that,
Madam,
that
Ms. Mishra, this is not a dialogue. This is for you to be able to speak to the council. There's no debate or no discussion between the council and the citizens. We appreciate your input. We can come back to you shortly. We do have one other citizen, and let us do that. And if you want to come back, if Mr. Chris Cagle. Yeah, if you can mute, ma'am, please, thank you. Mr. Chris Cagle, are you there?
I am.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Chris Cagle. I own Stefan's Restaurant in Kingsland. And basically this year has been, I think, a very challenging year for all business owners locally. Me personally, I've been a dishwasher, I've made pizzas, I've operated saute stations, been a server, a manager, and now I own this restaurant. And I've never seen anything quite like this COVID-19 and the way it impacted businesses. And I think that any smart business needs to adapt and change and react to what's happening. And I think there's an opportunity in everything, but you have to be aware of what's happening and react to it. And ever since this has happened, my business has been one of the lucky ones, I feel like. But we're still hunting new opportunities and still looking to bridge the gap between where we were and where we are now. And in seeking opportunities, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine and my social media coordinator, John Dewar, who just happens to be a regular downtown St. Mary's just about every Friday and Saturday night. And him and I were discussing his experience downtown, and he told me that there is no food available downtown after 10 o'clock at night when all the restaurants shut down, although they're still serving drinks and stuff like that. So this idea came to mind that there is a big opportunity in St. Mary's to operate a food truck during those hours, particularly on Friday and Saturday nights is what I have in mind. And the current ordinance provides an obstacle to that. Current ordinance allows food trucks to operate from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. But obviously, I see an opportunity, and I'm here to ask you for your consideration. Not to state the obvious, but Stephens would benefit. But also the community, it would provide 3 to 4 jobs and doesn't interfere with any current business going on in downtown during those hours. I actually think it would be a benefit to those businesses, and the way I see it, I kind of want what they don't want. For the residents and visitors of St. Mary's, I think it would provide a late night offering that's not currently available and possibly provide more draw, especially during those hours. And also more motivation perhaps for people to want to stay downtown. As far as I'm aware, the closest food available after 10 o'clock is Taco Bell. And then people are driving to St. Mary's, which is not necessarily a good situation considering they probably shouldn't be on the roads in a lot of cases. And for the city, I feel like the idea would mean more to offer downtown, better experiences for everybody there, and also a way for people to more enjoy their time downtown. Obviously, I realize that bringing a food truck downtown has its specific challenges, particularly during that time frame, and we want to be sure that we would be considerate of everybody's wishes. We do not want to disturb them, and we don't want to disrupt life as it is in St. Mary's. We just want to enhance it. So we would be open to any recommendations from the city on how to accomplish that in order to basically operate this food truck on a trial basis to see if it's something that would be worth modification to the current ordinance, see if it's something that would be mutually beneficial to the city, to the vendor, and to the people that are visiting St. Mary's. And we feel like it's a really good opportunity. We'd like to be there every single Friday and Saturday night from 10 to 1. And I would like to ask the City Council to consider putting this item on the agenda for the next council meeting to discuss.
All right. So, as I told Ms. Mishra, this is not for dialogue. However, I will tell you that I'm going to, Mr. Horton is on the line. I'm going to ask Mr. Horton to get your contact information from the city clerk, if you'd make sure that she has it. He will contact you to set up a meeting so you can have a more in-depth discussion and if it warrants, with the Planning Commission and looking at the ordinance, perhaps find a path forward for your idea. So we will do that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for coming on with your idea. We very much appreciate it. Mr. Horton, are you good with the task?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Council, that being said, Madam Clerk, can we read the calendar, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow on Monday, August 18th at 5.
Excuse me. Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, I forgot Ms. Mishra. Let me stop you. All right, we were to go back to see if Ms. Mishra is available. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes. Hi. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and that I understand the concerns and the climate of the neighborhood and all that. And I don't mean to seem like a disruptor in any way, but I would like to. I just want to say that I would like to probably look into how to accommodate or to get a reasonable accommodation for our pigs temporarily while we find a more suitable and compatible place for us. And also to mention that the reason we didn't seek permission or anything like that prior to moving here and prior to installing all this fencing is that we had lived in a place that was smaller and suburban and in North Carolina where everybody seemed very happy about the pigs and we didn't have a problem. So you can chalk it up to naivety, I guess. We assumed that it would be kind of the case here. And because especially the area was larger and we had this fencing. But anyway, thank you. And I hope to continue communicating with the town about reasonable accommodation.
Right. If you have any follow-ups, please make sure you contact the city manager. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So, Madam Clerk, my apologies now. If you'd like to restart the calendar.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow on Tuesday, August 18th at 5:30 p.m. in Council Chambers, we have the Planning Commission meeting. On Wednesday, August 19th at 6 o'clock p.m., the Board of Ethics has canceled their meeting. On Friday, August 21st at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers, you have St. Mary's Municipal Court trials, followed by the 11 o'clock a.m. St. Mary's Municipal Court plea and arraignments. On Tuesday, August 25th at 2 o'clock p.m. in Council Chambers, we have the Winding Road Sidewalk Project Engineering Request for Proposal. At 3 o'clock p.m., we have the St. Mary's Convention and Visitors Bureau Authority meeting at the Ward Hernandez Building, as well on August the 25th. At 5:30 p.m., we have the Historic Preservation Commission meeting in Council Chambers, and at 6 o'clock p.m., we have the Stormwater Enterprise Study Working Committee in the Main Street Building. Okay. On Wednesday, September 2nd. Hello, sir. Did you?
Yes, ma'am. Keep going.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. On Wednesday, September 2nd at 5 o'clock p.m., we have the Development Authority St. Mary's meeting in the Main Street office. On Thursday, September 3rd at 2 o'clock p.m., we have the Tree Board meeting in Council Chambers. On Friday, September 4th at 9 o'clock a.m., we have the St. Mary's Municipal Court plea and arraignments. And on Monday, September 7th, we have the canceled St. Mary's City Council meeting at 6 o'clock. On Tuesday, September 8th, we have the Stormwater Enterprise Study Working Committee meeting in the Main Street office. On Thursday, September 10th at 9:30 a.m., we have the Orange Hall Management Committee meeting in Council Chambers. At 5 o'clock p.m., on September 10th, we have the St. Mary's Intercoastal Gateway meeting in the Main Street office. At 6 o'clock p.m., we have the Hospital Authority meeting in Council Chambers. On Monday, September 14th at 8:30 a.m., we have the Downtown Development Authority meeting in the Main Street office. On Tuesday, September 15th, we have the Planning Commission meeting at 5:30 in Council Chambers. On Wednesday, September 16th at 6 o'clock p.m., we have the Board of Ethics meeting in Council Chambers. On Friday, September 18th at 9 a.m., we have St. Mary's Municipal Court trials, followed by the 11 o'clock St. Mary's Municipal Court plea and arraignments. And on Monday, September 21st, we have the 6 o'clock p.m. City Council meeting.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Council, for your comments, I'll start with Mr. Jones. Any comments?
Mayor, I just want to say that I'm proud of what we've been doing in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially with COVID. I just want to let everybody know that our staff is great. I've been riding the city and talking to different people, both on and off the job, and they've been doing a great job. We're living in a different time. I think this is going to probably be a new norm, and we're just going to have to adjust and deal with it. We need to be safe, wear our mask, and do like we supposed to, if not to protect us, to protect other people. I really have high grades for our new police chief and the staff that he's got there, and some of the things that he's doing that you don't particularly hear about. I just think that the city of St. Mary's is doing some great things. We have some great employees, and I respect everybody and their decisions to keep St. Mary's going in the right direction. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Goodman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, you really did a great job moderating a meeting with an additional dimension. I feel like our citizens were respected and given every opportunity, and that's really difficult to manage, and you did a great job. It's true. And to my fellow council members, we have
St. Mary's, Mr. Jim.
Yes, sir. And to my fellow council members, we faced some pretty difficult situations tonight, and I think we have to say that we treated everyone fairly, including each other. And again, echoing what Artie said, we have a wonderful staff. We have a great city manager, and all of our department directors are top notch. And we're just in a real difficult situation. I wouldn't want to be associated with any other team, and I appreciate it all very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gant.
Well, I couldn't say that any better than my side-by-side partner than Jim Goodman. He said it very nicely. Only thing I can add is the mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask, and social distance and wash your hands. We still haven't beat this pandemic down. We've got to get it down, get our country back to where it was before. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Riley.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd also say that it was a tough evening, and we got through a lot of items, and we've had to table a couple, and we'll come back with a better solution, hopefully at the next meeting, to resolve those issues the way that we hope they will. And also, we got to mask up. Mr. Gant mentioned that, and we need to mask up and pay attention to what the medical folks are saying across the country, and listen to our leaders. Let's get this disease, this virus, under control so that we can move forward as a country. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rassi.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to thank Jennifer Brown and her team. They have done an outstanding job keeping us on track financially through this time, and kudos to your team. Robbie, you have done a great job guiding and leading our city through this time of COVID. Your city staff has all made us all proud. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to keep visiting our businesses and restaurants throughout St. Mary's. They need our support more now than ever. Besties, you will see my family and I more often. I would also like to thank Charlie Hester for the incredible work he has done for our city. Thanks to you and your team for your efforts. And Charlie was on the ground troweling concrete this morning. So thanks, everyone, for your efforts on this. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. And Ms. Williams.
Mr. Mayor, the night is late, and we've covered a lot of ground. and my fellow colleagues have said everything very, very well, very eloquently. So I shall pass any further comments.
Okay. All right. One of the things obviously everyone's talked about, you've heard me talk about, is masking. The executive policy group talked about that last week. And the governor, of course, issued an executive order last Friday, just reinforcing the masking and its importance. So we very much appreciate that. And of course, then the school systems commenced masking today, if I remember correctly. So to Mr. Riley's point and all our points, concerted effort, we're gonna win the battle. So thank you for that. Now, we do have an executive session, Council, and it is relative to personnel. So I will need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So Ms. Williams, can I have a second?
Second, Alan Ramsey.
Yes, sir. Got it. And Madam Clerk, run the roster.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4. Councilmember Riley, post 4. Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4. Mayor Morrissey.
All right, Madam Clerk, please mark that as 5 to yays. Just leave it at that, 5
Yes.
yays. All right, with Mr. Riley absent. Okay,
Yes,
so for everyone that's on the phone, the council will now recuse itself for an executive session. I don't know how long that's going to last. When we come back, we will dial back in to this conference number. But again, Madam Clerk will be there on the line while we deliberate, and then we shall return and either make a motion or not, and then we will close out this session for City of St. Mary's Council meeting for August 17th. All right, Council, you should all have your click-throughs for the executive session, and we will talk within the next 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you all.
St. Mary's City Council is currently in executive session. St. Mary's City Council is currently in executive session. Please stay tuned. St. Mary's City Council is currently in executive session. Please stay tuned.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, back. Back from executive session.
Okay, me too. I'll
Yes, ma'am.
motion that we adjourn.
I think you got to wait till the mayor's here.
Tell him he already got a motion in a second.
All right. So, to our citizens who may be on the line, and Madam Clerk, if you're there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for staying with us. We are about to rejoin regular session. We have exited the City of St. Mary's executive session for personnel. And I'm just going to do a quick verb. I heard Artie, Jim Goodman, you on there? Okay. Madam Clerk, why don't you do the roll call then?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Here.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2. Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Present.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Present.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Present.
Councilmember Williams, post 6. Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Sorry, present.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2. Mayor Morrissey.
Past his bedtime.
Say it again.
No, I was saying, Mayor Morrissey, I was.
Let's give Mr. Goodman one more minute here. He's probably just connecting. So we have 5 of the 6 council members who are just ready. Mr. Horton, are you back on?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have the wherewithal to try and reach Mr. Goodman?
Yes, sir. I'll do that right now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, could you see if you might be able to get a hold of him? Thank you. I'd like him to be on.
Oh.
All right, patience, everyone.
Mayor, we don't have anything to report. All we need is a motion to adjourn, right?
Yeah, we just.
Sir, I just spoke. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just spoke to Mr. Goodman. He's dialing in now.
All right, good. We'll wait for him then. Thank you.
Hey, I'm on.
Mr. Goodman? You on?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's
I am.
quite all right.
Sorry about
all right.
that.
All right, could I have a motion to go back into regular session, please?
So moved, Alan Rassi.
Mr. Rassi, okay, how about a second? 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 I can't. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, roster?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Yay.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Yay.
Mayor Morrissey.
All right. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Now, Council, can I have a motion to adjourn session from August 17th?
Adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
That's Ms. Williams. A second from?
Alan Rassi.
Second.
All right, Mr. Rassi. All right, Madam Clerk, the roster.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Yay.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
No, I want to keep on meeting. Yay.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
You can stay on the phone line all you want, Jim.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Yay.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Yay.
Councilmember Williams, post 6. Mayor Morrissey.
Obviously, I think it's unanimous. Thank you, everyone, for a great evening. I appreciate your attitude. It's been wonderful. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Good night.
Sorry I was to tag in tonight.